Well, when it comes to the 4-team race, I'm looking at this like, what about the Suns? Because the Suns have stepped up quite a bit leading up to the All-Star break. They've won 5 of their last 6. Bradley Beal on pace to return. So when it comes to Timberwolves, Clippers, Thunder, Nuggets, I wouldn't count out the Suns to make their way into that pack. And maybe I'm not ready to call it a 4-team race just yet. Let's see how the Suns do in the second half of the season. When it comes to the Celtics, I like what they're doing right now, but I don't know if I can trust them when it comes to a playoff situation, because they have, as we saw last year, put together a phenomenal regular season. Then it comes time for the playoffs and they fall apart completely and they just become a different team. So right now I am very hesitant to take the Celtics, even though they are favored and the odds makers are giving them a lot of credit because of the regular season they put together. And the fact that if they don't win the finals this season, when are they ever going to? And we said that after last season, but this team with Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Porzingis, and the team they've put together, they need to win together or not. And just, they need to do it or not, because they haven't yet. And that's been the goal forever. And with what happens to Missoula if they don't. So I feel like it's championship or bust for this team. And if it becomes a bust, what do they do? What do they do? When is this team ever going to win the finals? If not last year, if not now. So I would be hesitant to take the Celtics right now. I would look at the Nuggets because in my mind, this is the year of the repeat. The Chiefs repeat. I think UConn will repeat. The Nuggets perhaps will join in on that party and maybe repeat because they're right behind the Celtics in the odds. But also I would be really hesitant to take the Celtics right now.
Yeah, I'm the same way, and I am not Boston averse. I know Chelsea is. Whenever she's on this show, she's always like, "Oh, Boston always wins everything," and I
royal
get that,
family and Boston.
Right? And I just
was Chelsea's birthday yesterday, so happy birthday to Chelsea.
Oh, happy birthday, Chelsea. I should have texted her. Oh my God, I feel like such a bad co-host. I had it in my calendar and everything. So terrible. Oh, I'm so awful.
My calendar.
Oh, the worst. And I was like, I put this in my calendar to make myself remember and didn't do it. Oh, garbage.
Man. Well, I did. So happy birthday, Chelsea.
Happy birthday, Chelsea. Sorry. I did. At least Lucy did. She was speaking for us. I mean, she wasn't.
Represented Jenks in that. Yes.
Oh my God. You know, I still like, I will take it. Anywho, I kind of like the Thunder at 22-1. I love the value on Oklahoma City, but honestly, I sort of feel like they're like a year or two away, if that makes sense. They're so much fun to watch, and they have such a high ceiling. I mean, SGA is no joke, and Giddey's come along, and obviously Chet Holmgren, it's good to see him healthy, and he's going to be a stud. I feel like if you want to really just take a shot on someone, a dark horse, and maybe get yourself some serious plus money, they're worth a sprinkle. But as I'm saying this, I'm like, they're not quite there. They're close, but they're not quite. They're a covering machine, but maybe not quite there. Is there any other team on the board that interests you besides the Nuggets where maybe there's some value? I will say this. I cannot believe the Bucks are 6-1. I am not trusting Milwaukee. To put this in perspective, when you talk about the Angels having not made the postseason, I mean, let's throw this out there. They have not made the playoffs since 2014. They have not won a postseason game since 2009. And also, Trout has played about 50% of the time in the last 3 years. He has been very, very banged up from various injuries. And when we were talking about Blake Snell, the second favorite to sign Blake Snell is the Angels, right behind the Yankees. The Angels at 3-1 to sign Blake Snell. So maybe it's a possibility. But let me ask you this. When it comes to Mike Trout, where do you stand on him? I appreciate the loyalty. Like, that kind of warms my heart that I want to be here when I sign this contract. Yeah. That means that I'm dedicated to the LA Angels. At the same time, this is 2024 when guys move around all the time in search of a title. And he left that door open. But what should he do?
Well, I mean, he seems delusional to me because the Angels are not winning. The Angels are not winning a title. Are you kidding me? They're not winning They could not win with Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani on the same team. two of the greatest players, Shohei Ohtani, the greatest player we will ever see, Mike Trout, one of the marketed at first as one of the faces of baseball. I remember that. He's just on a team that is not going to win the World Series, Mike Trout. I'm sorry to break the news to you, Mike Trout, but you're not going to win a World Series if you stick with the Angels. There have only been, 3 postseason games for the Angels since in the Mike Trout era for him. That is insane.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen unless they have to make like a dozen moves for that to happen. Everything has to go right for this team for it to happen, for them to be a Cinderella story. They're not winning the World Series. I mean, those odds for them to win the World Series are not looking so hot. I'm sorry, Mike Trout. Loyalty is always appreciated and valued, but this is like loyal to a fault. I mean, you've got it. I mean, do you put loyalty and no World Series? Or, I mean, at the end of the day, when your career is done, do you look back on it and say, at least I was loyal? I mean, sure, if that's your goal. Or do you look back on it and say, you know what? I was one of the greatest players and won a World Series. If you're with the Angels, you can't really say that because it's not going to happen. So it depends on where your value is. If you want to be a loyal guy to your organization, fine. But you're not going to win a World Series. Not both of those things are not going to be true for Mike Trout. So I kind of feel bad for him. He's a little bit of a martyr here, I guess, because maybe not in his mind. Does he actually believe this, or is he just saying this because they're paying him a lot of money? Because he can't believe they're going to win a World Series. I mean, that's not going to happen.
If you're fielding calls, and good job by Bill Rowland, our producer, by putting fielding calls on Justin. If you're taking calls on Justin Fields, right, and you're saying, okay, what are you willing to give us for a guy who, to his credit, has gotten better during his time in Chicago? It's clear that if that's the case, they're very much leaning towards taking Caleb Williams with that top pick. Is this the right call? You can go back and forth and make a case either way, I feel like.
Yeah, I see what you did there, Bill. Fielding calls. I think that this makes sense because if they, with the first pick, are planning to take a quarterback, which would be the smart move because I feel like quarterbacks are going to be gone very quickly in this draft. Getting a sense of what Justin Fields' value is, I think makes sense and is just a smart, prudent move in a business sense as well, because then you can figure out what to do with him. Do we actually keep him? Or could he be a valuable quarterback to another team and then they get something for it? Maybe perhaps the Ravens or something. I don't know, but or something like, I don't know if the Ravens would need a quarterback, but a team perhaps that would be a contender for Justin Fields. But I feel like they may in the end not do anything, but I feel like getting a sense of his value it just makes sense and is not super shocking just because of what they are likely planning to do with the draft.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. You just sort of say, let's understand the market for Justin Fields and understand all of the different avenues here, all of the different aspects at play before we make this pick. And so I think that's probably just smart business.